Yeah, without further ado, we'll drink some water. Thanks, Big Yay. And get started. Went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Oh. I'm just gonna turn this audio down a teensy tiny bit. A little bit further, maybe. Alright. So we wiped the day's sweat off in the shower. It must have been a hot day. I know I personally don't have showers after school. Unless it was like a boiling hot day, but hey. He also has recess, so maybe he's running around playing in the playground all the time. Who knows? Normally I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things. But that didn't happen today. Oh, right. He just got home from meeting Satoko's, seeing Satoko's state and seeing her uncle for the first time. Yeah, things are not going to be better simply by taking a shower. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realize how much Satoko must be suffering. Your mom's putting fresh clothes out for you while you're showering, and then like your friends like being worked half to death and can barely attend school, getting beaten within an inch of their life, and you're like, yeah, thanks so much. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Satoko might be getting bruised by her uncle's cruel words. Cruel words? Dude, she has actual bruises. Never mind the harsh tongue of her. Never mind the harsh tongue of her uncle. Let's think about the physical stuff too. I mean, they're both working in tandem to make life hard, but still. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. Then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. Our man's like, my topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We thought, if we could just get a public agency to intervene in this right away, the problem would be solved. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. With what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satoko was obstinate, and she would stubbornly deny the abuse and try to endure it. Literal masochism. Alright. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who'd protected her before and then run away. As long as she thought that way, this situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, I would do what I had to do. In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I'd report it over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, she might criticize me if she found out, but I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi. Would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Ooh, are we thinking of something more drastic? Say I report it to a public agency like the Child Consultation Center. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year they decided to do just that, and the situation improved temporarily. And then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. And in the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year, it was her uncle. I'd just seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed so much more direct, so much more violent than the word underhanded could ever imply. He wasn't like their aunt, no, not that subtle. He was more direct. He also might assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on her body. You're too naive, Keiichi. However heroic it may seem to report what was happening, if it doesn't save her, it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency is only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. Alright, he's thinking of a plan B. We need something more to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friend today came to mind. I was embarrassed I hadn't realized it until Rana said something. She was right. my house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw-thatched roofs in Hinamizawa, it was really big. I'd like to point out that their neighbor also has a fairly sizable house, and it's not straw-thatched. But we do see a lot of, strangely enough, we do see a lot of straw-thatched roofs in Hinamizawa. Which, I mean, they're not terrible, but it also means they're probably like fairly old constructions. And your house is Titanic. I mean, we got a room on the right of this, 2 rooms, possibly. But this is like a double-door entrance. He has an actual entryway, a backup entryway, and then like a cargo entrance. He literally has 3 doors on the front. He has 3 doors, right? So I assume under this overhang there's an entrance, right? Like the main entrance, the studio entrance, the cargo entrance, windows on either side, and a second floor with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows at least. Never mind the attic, which might be livable depending on the state of the house. It's a fairly spacious place. So maybe he'll ask his parents, because he did just get, it's a little bit late, but he did just get home. We did actually have empty rooms. Okay, they have way too much space if they have actual empty rooms. I never thought we were affluent, but also never that we are poor. You literally have empty rooms in your house. Like, does anyone have an empty room in their house? I don't mean like a room you don't have a lot of use for. I mean like an actual empty room with nothing in it. Like, having a large storage space is one thing. Having an actual empty room, though, like, how much money do you have if you're like, yeah, we have, like, 2 extra bedrooms. We have a spare bedroom, and then we have 2 empty rooms. What do you mean, empty rooms? Like, a game room? No, we have one of those. We have a game room, we have a living room, we have a dining room, we have a kitchen. We have 2 empty rooms we're not doing anything with. On top of the studio, like, we have a literal painting studio where we store all the paint stuff. Or a little art studio on half the house. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant, but maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. I mean, they have multiple empty rooms. They said multiple, right? Yeah, it's multiple, at least 2, it could be more. That said, I would say they moved from Tokyo to middle of nowhere, and Tokyo can be really expensive. I think, yeah, my parents had some friends where they did this actually. They moved from Toronto to the town my parents live in, which is like way the fuck cheaper. So they went from having like a 1-bedroom they had like a decent sized 1-bedroom apartment in Toronto, and they literally bought like a 5-bedroom house. For 2 people. For 2 people, they bought like a 5-bedroom house. It was actually way too fucking big for them, and they ended up moving like a couple of, yeah, I think like 3-4 years later they just said fuck it, and we're like, we're not gonna maintain this house, and they moved somewhere else because it was too big. Because that was what they could afford. They could afford like a fucking huge house. That was like completely unnecessary. I think they had like an entire floor. They had like, I'm trying to remember. They had like an entire floor. That was literally like a computer room, and then the other room was the music room. And I mean, like, they had like multiple the one guy was a drummer, and he had like multiple drum kits. He had like at least 2 drum kits set up and usable, and like space for other people for him to do like band practice because he was in a band. Like, you think of people doing band practice, and they're like, yeah, maybe in the garage, right? You move the car out of the way, you got space. No, dedicated room for the band. At least I believe that's where they were practicing briefly for a while. I think they ended up stopping because they had kids or something, but they ended up having kids or something. I don't know why they stopped. I think they were doing that for a while, but that's like the amount of space they had. It was fairly sizable. So I can definitely see them buying a really big house that they don't actually need, because they just go, okay, this is our budget, get us a house in that budget range, okay? And they have no clue how much like it costs in like cheaper areas. So they get like a big ass house that they don't need because they're like, oh, we'd love to have tons of space, we have tons of stuff to do, and then they might realize later on they don't actually need the space. Because, like, I don't know what their family plan is, right? We don't know much about his parents. Maybe his parents are planning on having a couple more kids, although he's, like, 14 and he's an only child, so it seems unlikely, but whatever. Like, maybe they were planning on having a couple more kids or something. Yeah, oops on this face. I mean, it seemed like they rushed out there. We'll see. Or will we see? Oh, we don't actually see. We don't know enough about his parents. We don't know shit about them. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. Just to repeat, not we have a room. It's like, we have a room we could lend to her. We have a few rooms. Like, we could have everyone here. Yeah, we had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. We could unironically house every single person in our friend group without any discomfort. Maybe a bit of a backup in the bathroom because there's like 8 people living there now instead of 3. That would be the main issue. I don't know how many bathrooms it is. It might be a problem. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job come and stay once in a while. Not guest room, guest rooms. Guest rooms, plural. If we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad uses for storage. If we cleaned up a few of the rooms, not the room he uses for storage, a few of the rooms. Like, they have 3+ rooms his dad's using to store junk in their house. Oh my god, this guy has I don't know how big his house is, but I'm just imagining like this colossal mansion that you can get lost in, and they just use like the first 3 rooms in it. Yeah, there's probably there's probably only like 3 or 4 extra rooms, judging by the size of the house. There's probably like 3 to 5 extra rooms in the house, because they did add like they have a dedicated studio, because it's also a business, right? A 1 million square foot mansion, yeah, something like that. It's crazy. As for food expenses, it might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me can imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All our friends would have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone packing everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, would have to be up to mom. Yeah, why didn't you think... The only pressure is, like, really on, like, the only cost increases are on lunch, breakfast, dinner, and... Like, you're not, like, and water, like, I'd need to convince her to lend Satoko more than a room. Of course, I don't even think convincing her of that would be easy. Wait, why don't you ask? How much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? 10,000 yen is... $100, right? Oh, you could do it for $100 or less. You could do it for $100 or less. Especially because his mom's dealing with, I don't know if his mom has work, but she definitely has, like... There's definitely, like, a threshold at which point you can buy things, large quantities of things, and not be super inefficient, right? And, like, 3 to 4 is a good number. 3 to 4 people is usually about, like, about what, like, a lot of people seem to be aiming... A lot of companies aim to target in terms of, like, family size for their products. So you'd be able to benefit from, like, buying all the family size stuff. Though they might be able to do that already. That wouldn't be, like, hugely impactful, because they won't be buying, like, small things. Like, if I buy the smallest stuff I can get, because if it's perishable, I can't eat it fast enough. With, like, 3 people, probably doable. Eat, like, anything perishable. 4, you're definitely set. Yeah, their mansion's fucking huge. They couldn't complain if I shouldered that, could they? You probably can't afford that, but... I mean, you could do it for about 10,000 yen. It's probably not multiple tens of thousands. Especially because his mom's cooking. It's not like they're eating out every day. It'd be like 10,000 yen per month plus like another, I don't know, like 30 yen or 3,000 yen maybe for water and electricity. I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more thanks to New Year's gifts and such, but my parents took it all and put it in a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money, right? And if I got it that far, I should ask Mion to share some of the burden. Of course I wouldn't depend on that. Reina got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto others. I'd have to ask for help, even so I'd basically be saving her myself. I'd follow through on it, but it wouldn't only be food expenses. There were a lot of other things you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once, that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satoko would use for her own clothes. I couldn't think about food expenses. I needed more money. Wait, Keiichi, since when is this all about money? Even if you can afford it, you need parents' permission first. Dude, like, you can go talk to your parents, and then you can discuss whether you think it's financially viable. Because it's not even like a reality that's likely to happen. It's like a huge if. It's a huge theoretical. And we're like, seriously, you can just be like, hey, like, I'm seriously concerned. Can you, like, lend them a room or some shit? Even worse, you could just say, like, for a couple days. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What could I say to persuade them? Just calm down, Keiichi. You'll realize right away you can't. That's surprisingly defeatist of you, Keiichi. Even if you ask them seriously, they'd tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maibara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? I mean, I imagine you could probably ask for assistance from other people if you needed to. And why is he suddenly being resentful that he is shouldering the burden? His family is shouldering the burden. This is like a weird question. Like, what? We have a massive-ass house. We can loan someone a room. Heck, we have extra beds, because apparently we have dedicated guest rooms. Like, it literally wouldn't be a problem. That's what would happen. That was it. It was very sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I want to help, he literally hasn't asked a question and doesn't know shit about his family's finances. But he's making stupid assumptions, right? No matter how much I want to help, my resolution couldn't save anything. He's like, it's impossible. Are kids really this powerless? How about you just go ask? I felt frustrated. I believed my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought they were stronger than Coach's. And yet he hasn't even managed the willpower to ask. At that point, there were 2 knocks on my door and my mom poked her head inside. Are you awake? I've been calling you to for dinner for a while. Oh, yeah, I'm coming. As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing and food suddenly appeared. It's like magic. It's like magic, isn't it? It felt so natural to me, I'd shamelessly thought of it as the responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. Well, it kind of is. Kind of is. Right? But when I realized that the natural thing was actually a right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant the privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on the table right now for Dad, Mom, and me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place to the table. This guy is like the most self-defeating person. Holy shit. Think Keiichi. It was hard to make food for 4. Think about how 4 people could eat food made for 3. Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here in secret. Really? This is your solution? This is your solution, Keiichi. Your parents literally have like 5 guest rooms. Like, they live in a mansion with with at least 2 guest rooms. And he's like, we can't afford one extra plate at the table. Like, dude, your parents are probably paid more for the extra fucking guest room than they will pay for the entirety of her stay. Like how much do you think like an entire extra room, like a full-sized bedroom adds to like a house? That's gotta be at least like 100 grand. So like 1,000,000 yen? Like, or no, like 10 million. It's gotta be like 10 million. It's gotta be like 10 million yen or some bullshit. It's gotta be like 5 million yen or some bullshit. Just to get like an extra guest room. And they have like 7 extra rooms. Like, it should theoretically... Now, their income, like the velocity of their income, may not be that high. But for as a one-time payment, they're certainly set for at least paying the mortgage, right? I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here in secret. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, if you climb out the window, then shimmy down the first floor roof or the gutter, you could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Satoko's physical ability far surpassed my own. It would be even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. I don't know how he convinced himself of this, but this is stupid. I'd only have to bring her to my house when the public agency said they'd wait and see. In other words, if Satoko's uncle continued to be her guardian. If, in such a situation, word got out she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satoko back with him. Her uncle was a rightful guardian, my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt, so I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here. I mean, if you tell your parents, they would probably just lie to his face. Right? Or they'd at least be like, yeah, we don't want to grant you entry. Sorry, bye. Like, they don't have to lie. They can just be like, yeah, we're not interested in talking with you, bye. Like, does he expect to get help from the rest of the village? If this is Hanamizawa, where people are like, where like half the people are like psychically connected to each other, you really think people are gonna just like turn on it? Are gonna like you really think anyone's going to think him over Satoko, right? In a crisis? Like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think he would find himself stonewalled really hard by no one wanting to help him. And at best, he could, like, call the cops on them. But I mean, like, then all she has to do is say, like, oh, I ran away, it's like, oh, I ran away and I've been living with, and then like he can't call the cops, right? Because it's like, oh, where is she? And all she would have to say is like, I literally had to run away because I was scared for my life. Or some bullshit like that. Or just say she was like sick of the beatings or some shit. And be like, yeah, I've been staying at friends trying to avoid being caught by him. Or like, oh yeah, I've like visited like 6 people. And it's like, oh yeah, I was just with someone else. Someone who wasn't visited or some shit. Like there's plenty of things to say. Or you can just not get found by the police, that also works. That said, he's gonna camp at school, so if you want to attend school, you might have to make up some bullshit. I also have a couple friends who, I have one friend who got kicked out by their parents at 16. And I have another friend who I think actually did have to actually stay at one of their friends for a couple months when they got booted out of their parents' house. When they were like 15 or some shit. I think they spent a while at one of their friends' houses. They were an acquaintance at the time though. So. I don't know that. I don't have that many details. Alright, if it needs to be a secret, having your parents help would mean a lot, but you gotta deceive your allies first, like they always say. Is that what you're going with? Keiichi is really, I mean, okay, we already know Keiichi's a dumbass. I'm not gonna say he thinks he's clever, but he's not. You guys know that. I know that. He's a dumbass. So this is probably one of the worst choices he could make, because he consistently makes bad choices under pressure, but we'll see what he does. Okay. Persuading my parents is an unrealistic proposition. I'm not sure how he reached that point, but okay. So I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the 2nd floor. But you have like multiple oh, this is so stupid. The issue is the daytime. If she's hiding from her uncle, she couldn't go to school. It might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. I could easily teach Satoko the stuff she learns in her grade. This is the way we're going. This is the way we're going. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. During the day, I'd need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I'm this age, so they wouldn't go snooping in my room while I'm gone. I think. If she holed herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? If my parents do come, thanks to where the 2nd floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs, and there would be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimated a few seconds she'd be able to hide herself in the closet. This seems stupid, but okay. Wait, Keiichi, something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what'll she do for lunch? Calm down. I could leave her my own lunch, couldn't I? I'll just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, good. No contradictions or oversights. Your mom sees you out the door every single day. First oversight. Your mom sees you out the door every single day. This is your first oversight. She's literally watching you as you... She's literally watching you to see if you have your lunchbox. And will probably remind you on the first day. Oh, breakfast and dinner. Okay. I could get her to go without breakfast. I can do 2 meals a day when I sleep in on Sundays. And every night I'll pretend though I have a bigger appetite and ask for a bigger helping, and then I somehow give that to Satoko. As a test, I got up from my seat with my plate of fish in my hands. What's wrong, Keiichi? Sit and eat your food. I'm kind of not in a great mood. Can I eat in my room? You'll make a mess. Eat dinner at the dinner table. Sorry. Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish and they ganged up on me? This guy also gave up in like 2 seconds. He gave up in 2 seconds. I'm sure, surely you could come up with a better excuse, like, I need to study, and like, I need to study for some important test tomorrow. I need to study for some important test tomorrow, try a little bit harder, like, alternatively, you could just eat a normal amount of food and have whatever bring whatever leftovers are up to your room later. That might be a better idea. I think that'd be what I'd do. I think that would be what I do, because, like, think of it this way. If you eat every single dinner at the table with your parents, and you go upstairs to do something else, right? It's going to be really weird if you start eating meals in your room. There's going to be a resistance, because that's very unusual. If you're like, if you, like, wait till dinner's done, then take leftovers, bring them to your room and eat them. I don't know, your mom puts some, like, leftover, you get some leftover potatoes or some shit, and you're like, okay, well... you grab them from the Tupperware container and bring them up to your room. Like, your mom probably isn't going to complain too hard or notice. You're like, yeah, sorry, I'm hungry. I'm having a late snack or some shit. If there's any comment, right? That would probably be like a safer call, is to start eating the leftovers after dinner. Or ostensibly eating them. I mean, they are being eaten, right? Okay, but it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. I like how, well... My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs. I have to hide. I opened the closet. Clatter, clatter. It didn't open quietly. Wait, didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why is it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? That's a stupid question. Closets are... The closet door is not typically a, support... Fuck. A retaining wall. It's not... The door itself is never going to be a key support structure for your house. Was it already showing signs of dilapidation? Were the hinges not just greased well enough? Could I apply lubricating wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. It's an easy problem. I could do something about this. I just have to fix it up a little bit so it doesn't make noise. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as though I successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. I couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into my closet. Even so, there might be some reason they would. I might need to construct some sort of camouflage so she wouldn't be noticed even if they opened it. An extra blanket. The more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide, meaning it would be more likely they'd hear a noise. And then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The need to use the toilet's so obvious and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom is on the first floor. Oh, there is gonna be a problem. There's only one bathroom? Really? Okay, so they have a house with... They have a 4-bedroom house. At least 4 bedrooms. With only 1 toilet? Really? Okay. This is a brand new house. That seems like they, They should have added a couple toilets. 2 bathrooms would have been good. Most people like 2 bathrooms anyway. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing, even if it's a half bath, right? I might need to set up a portable toilet, like a chamber pot. Satoko would hate it, so she could go on. Dude, this plan sounds less, but the stench would be terrible. Anyone sensitive would notice the smell without even coming into the room. The bath was okay, though. She would just take a bath when my parents were out, but I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then I noticed I'd been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest, buried my face in them and tore at my hair. The more I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped place for so long. But if I was to shelter Satoko, I'd need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place forever. It'd be better than being abused by her uncle, or so I wanted to think. It got hard to breathe, so I gave it in and crawled out of the closet. I looked at the clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. It felt like so little time, but it was so unbelievably long. Did that guy unironically spend 6 hours in the closet? Oh, he spent like 7. He spent at least like 6 hours in that closet. Damn, dude. When I realized that, I was slammed with a terrible urge to sleep, as if the time had only just caught up with me. I didn't have enough strength to fight it and fell flat on my futon. I can't just go to sleep like this. If I waste time taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else is, I need to keep worrying about how to rescue Satoko for a minute, or even a second longer than anyone else. I mean, you could just say some vague shit and ask if she could stay over in a guest room for a day or two. That would also work. Just a couple days. Even pushing for a couple days might be feasible. I mean, you have guest rooms. What's the point of a guest room if you can't have guests in it? You have a literal guest room. Like, I can kind of see an argument if your parents only have, like, there's barely enough space for the 3 of you, but it's like, you have multiple guest rooms. Just stick her up in there and be like, yeah, we'll figure something out for food. I mean, Rika was paying for all of Satoko's food in the first place, right? Rika paid for all of Satoko's food in the first place, so like obviously she can afford that. You guys, you're a dumbass, my dude. Is there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral, steadily taking over my entire mind. And for my last moment of consciousness, I thought, there were a lot of blind spots in what I considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. I mean, I feel like you're making... Tomorrow it's just this bold plan to the others. This is his bold plan. It's certainly bold. I'll give him that. Mion might be able to help somehow. Reina was really sharp. She might have a good suggestion. I think they're both going to call you a fucking idiot. And above all, we need to rescue Satoko once again with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satoko. I feel like he's a dumbass, but whatever. What do I know? I'm just some middle-class kid who doesn't even own any property and is pretty sure they can afford to fuck it. If they own a house, they can afford to... If they own a house, they can afford one more person. I don't even own any property, and I'm like, I could probably do that. The ceiling blurred into view. It was hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. The voices of the cicadas permeating my room were somehow grating to my head. Today's not Sunday, is it? I remember today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness. And then, finally, I leapt out of bed. No alarm clock. The clock read a little before 10. I was totally late. When I wandered downstairs, my mom would get mad at me. There is nothing I could do, though. After reviewing the schedule for the school day for a moment, I suitably rearranged the stuff in my bag, hurried and got dressed, and then went down the stairs. There was no sign of my parents anywhere. Maybe they went out somewhere? Oh, so that's how it was. My mom probably woke me up once this morning, but I fell asleep without remembering it, and my parents, thinking I'd gone to school, left. Something like that probably happened. I went to the front door, and as I expected, it was locked. Looked like I was right. I'm hold up. I'm impressed. I want you guys to look closely. They deadbolted the door. How'd they manage to do that? They used the fucking hook ball and... They used the ball and chain locks. How the fuck do you use the ball and chain lock without a fucking... how did they use a ball and chain lock without a fucking... person in the house? Who locked this? Who locked this? Just look at the upper lock and tell me your parents did that. Unless they went out another door. I mean, he checked the front door and he's expecting it to be unlocked if they're locked if they're gone. How did they lock the door? Are his parents ghosts? They go some other way? It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. When I realized my parents weren't here, I felt like less like I had a rush to get to school. Just go to school for 11. There was one portion of breakfast left in the dining room. Probably mine. The milk they poured had gone warm since a while ago. When I realized how hard it would be to sneak food for Satoko yesterday, I cried. But thinking back on it, food wasn't the only issue in that regard. I wasn't in a position where I could care for her myself anyway. It's a heavy thing to save a single person. I think you lack ambition, my friend. I think he lacks ambition. Like, you're supposed to, like, decide the solution. You're supposed to decide the solution and be like, I will find a way to make this happen. Because I think his parents, if he went up to his parents with earnestly enough and was like, I want to do this, I'm prepared to spend all my money to make this happen, what do I do to get you guys on my side? It might be doable for like a couple weeks, at least. He kind of just sees the difficulty and gives up, which seems a little bit more cowardly than ambitious. I'd seen this on TV and in comics all the time. Those feel-good words about how you'll save your friends for sure and such. Was that why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that's not true. The fact I couldn't save her. I didn't want to think like an adult, like I couldn't do anything but watch. Had Satoko gone to school today? I realized that was a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her and no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle. Are we? Look, he had to undo the chain. He had to undo the chain to leave the house the normal way that his parents presumably leave. So, either they went out another door and locked the front, or his parents somehow locked the front door after leaving. I have no clue how they did that. Are we so powerless? With a vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put on my shoes and stumbled out the front door. No, kids are great for marketing to their parents. You're not completely powerless. That's why companies like advertising to children, because children will convince their parents to buy things because their parents want to make them happy. Come on, man. I'd only overslept by a couple hours, but the sunlight and air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came around, you could barely call it morning anymore. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. This is where it turns out it's a holiday. I needed to ultimately end up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one to get to school. Put in a more positive light, maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. You're already late? What's another 20 minutes? Unless you have something specific in mind. I had to go to school. Partly to make sure Satoko was safe, but I hadn't come up with any plans yet. Nothing since last night. So the path I took for my house was in the complete opposite direction. If I went this way, I'd pass Reina's house and the dam site. It'd be quite the detour. I calculated how long of a detour it'd end up being, and then, satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Reina brought me to the dam site a few times. One section turned into an unlawful, oversized garbage dump, and Reina really liked fishing for junk in there, like that Colonel Sanders statue. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl, too. I can think of a few other qualities she could do without, but yeah, whatever. The view quickly opened up wide, and I was hit by a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. Maybe it was a good thing I came here, I thought. At the very least, it's more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this instead of in my cramped bedroom. I took a deep breath and filled my lungs with the rich, cold air unique to Hinamizawa. Ring ring? I turned around reflexively. It was a bicycle bell. Considering where I was standing, I don't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They'd rang the bell because they wanted something from me. Excuse me. You're from Hinamizawa, right? This guy drove here, right? Yeah, why? I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. Note this guy with the camera. Can he be useful? His name, I think, was Tomitake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. He'd zealously visit Hinamizawa every season to take pictures, or so Mion and the others told me. I think. Story is how much more information we automatically know about Tomitake every single time we meet him. Now we know, like, exactly what he is, like we're reading it out of a fucking dictionary. Or an encyclopedia. Whereas, previously we had no clue who he was the first cycle. And we only ever met him once in each cycle, right? So, this is interesting. Did you tell me how to get to the Furude Shrine from here? I think I left my map at the inn. I don't know where to go. The shrine? From here? I knew where everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was hard. I was a little irritated at having been bothered for this, but I realized it meant my detour actually meant something. That feeling faded quickly. I'll tell you, but it's a bit difficult to explain. I could bring you there if you don't mind. Really? I'd be in your debt. Thanks a lot. But are you sure? Did you have something to do? Tomitake finally appeared to have realized how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. I smoothly told him not to worry about it and turned my back and started walking towards the shrine. Tomitake hurried to turn his bike around and came after me. Sorry, don't worry. All guys have times when they need to split up from the pack and be lone wolves for a while. What a free-minded freelancer. It was easier for me, too, that he was under that impression. I'm Tomitake, a freelance photographer. I specialize in wild birds and landscapes. I'm still pretty unknown, though. It seemed absurd for him to introduce himself when I was just showing him to the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give mine back. I'm Maibara. Pleased to meet you, I guess. Maibara-kun. Pleased to meet you. He seemed a pretty silly man, but that felt good considering I'd been suffocating with worry over Satoko all night. A breath of fresh air, if I do so myself. Along the way, Tomitake spoke at length to me about how precious the nature in Hinamizawa was, and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds, despite my not having access. I wasn't interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I left him to it. Scene change. Lots of scenes. These steps will take you up to the shrine grounds. Oh, thanks. You really helped me out. I think I'm a bit late. As Tomitake mumbled to himself, he left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. I didn't have a watch, but as far as my internal clock could guess, it was a little late in the morning. School wasn't far. Maybe I could kill more time until then. With that in mind, I went up the steps in pursuit of Tomitake. When I reached the top of the staircase, I arrived at the wide-open shrine grounds that were too grand looking for this tiny village. Tomitake, oh, there he is. It looked like he was supposed to be meeting someone here. Then he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. Ikano? That lady, I knew her. Oh, is that you, Maibara? Hello. Are you off from school today? Oh, Maibara, you followed me? I wasn't really planning to, I just wanted to kill some time. Oh my, arriving at work, late like an executive, how refined. You certainly are famous, taking time to look like a big shot. What was I, a celebrity? Well, she did say my name out of nowhere. Anyway, I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous. Oh, you still can't remember my name? This is Mio Takano-san. She works at the village clinic. Maibara-kun, you seem healthy, so you probably haven't been to the hospital much, have you? Now we're finally acquainted, so the next time you're sick or anything, I suppose I'll give you a bit of special treatment. This lady named Takano, I kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we'd passed each other on the street a few times, and I was pretty sure this is the first time we'd talked. How does he not know her? Well, this is Hinamizawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. I glanced at Takano and saw she had a bag and camera. Okay. Bag and camera. Are you photography partners? Was that why you were meeting each other? Oh, we're nothing like partners. I'm but an amateur, and Jiro-san is gently initiating me into it. Right? It's not it at all. Takano's a quick learner. She can take pictures just fine with it, my god. I mean it. I couldn't tell which of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, they were certainly one couple you wouldn't get tired of watching. The festival's finally coming up the day after tomorrow. I hope I can take some good pictures this year. I plan on taking some shots of the setup tomorrow. I want to capture the festival energy shown by the preparations for it, too. Oh, I just remembered. There's some village festival called Watanagashi or something the day after tomorrow, on Sunday. They hold a service with a pile of old futons in order to give thanks to Hinamizawa's guardian deity, Orishiro-sama, I think? Oh, you're correct. You have quite an extensive knowledge despite having just moved here. Yes, it's a festival to give thanks to Oyashiro. Takano smiled, somehow meaningfully, but didn't tell me what part of a festival to thank Oyashiro-sama needed to be laughed at. Cryptic as ever, Takano. But I do wonder what will happen this year. You know what they say, if it happens twice, it'll happen a third time. And it's already happened 4 times. I think there's less evidence it won't happen a 5th time, don't you think? I knew what they meant by their whispered exchange. On the day of Watanagashi, a freak death always occurs which people call Oyashiro-sama's curse, and a disappearance occurs that people call Onikakushi. Those strange events that happened for 4 years running, and Watanagashi rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow marked the 5th. Oyashiro-sama puts a curse on enemies of the village, eh? If it happens this year, I wonder who will find themselves at gunpoint. Oh, and I always come here to pray and donate more money when I visit. It won't be me, for sure. Oh, is that so? They say Oyashiro-sama has been especially harsh on outsiders recently, you know? My Barakun may have only just moved in, but he's a proper member of Hinamizawa. But you, Jiro, you're a stranger who only comes once a year. I wonder, will he let you go this year? That's harsh. Tomitake was the only one with a pained grin, but we were all smiling, me included. It's not as funny when you realize twice now he's been the person who got murdered. Oyashiro-sama, the one who used a curse to kill people involved in the dam construction project, one after the next. First, the dam construction manager. Then he killed Satoko's parents for supporting it. And next year he killed her aunt. If the demon away was part of the curse, you could add Satoshi to the list of victims. As I thought about it, I realized in the serial freak deaths, the overwhelming majority had the last name Hojo. Half the deaths and disappearances came from the Hojo family. They lived here in Hinamizawa. Did that mean Oyashiro punished and cursed them particularly harshly because despite that they'd been in favor of the dam? It's true. Have you heard the news? Satoko's uncle's returned? Takano-san, who had been enjoying a few words with Tomitake, was caught unaware by a sudden inquiry. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Satoko's parents were killed by the curse, and her aunt too. I was wondering if maybe you went in order, her uncle would be next. Her aunt had a miserable death from the curse last year, and her uncle let his fear take over and fled into town, right? Oyashiro doesn't allow people to try and abandon the village, does he? I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent. I like how our guy is like convinced it's gonna be. He's like, ooh, I think it's this guy. Is there a chance the uncle's murdered? I mean, I'm thinking it might be the uncle because it's the Satoko plot, but I'm also thinking it might be the uncle because Mion wants the uncle fucking dead. But then again, Takano might be, or not Takano. Takano and Tomitake might be higher priority targets because they might reveal something that hurts the village. Those words, they just flowed out of my mouth without me thinking about it. Right. The curse. I didn't believe in something so unrealistic, but the fact was, every year, unfortunate accidents and incidents happened to enemies of the village. Like Takano said just now, it happened 4 times. No one could say there wouldn't be a 5th. That's an interesting suggestion. It's true if you look at those sacrificed the previous years, the name Hojo comes up quite frequently. Given how long it's gone on for, her uncle being the one to die or disappear isn't out of the question. Not again, Takano. Don't laugh about it. It could really happen. I'm sorry, but Oyashiro-sama's curse is my life's work. Takano gave off a mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her life's work was mysterious in its own right. Friendly reminder, she's been demoned away. She's been demoned away twice. So, all this bluster sounds extra grim. When you realize she's probably dying within the next 2 days. She really liked inexplicable supernatural phenomena or something. Kano, you seem like you know a lot of it, Oyashiro. Give me your honest thoughts. Given that he's a Hojo and he's returned, what are the chances the uncle falls? My what? You seem like you want this uncle of hers dead. That's not... Was he about to say that's not entirely true? I wonder. It all depends on the whims of God. Ibar, do you know the true identity of Santa Claus? I got a strange question all of a sudden. I couldn't immediately answer. Do you mean Saint Nicholas? Or, what's his face? Why am I drawing a blank on the coal guide? I don't remember. Let's see which one they go with. What, you don't know? It's your daddy. The daddy is in everyone's family. Is that what you meant? Well, of course. Everything ultimately comes down to humans in the end. After all, humans are the only ones living in the world. All strange things should be explainable in terms of human actions. I felt like I put that somewhat strangely, but Takano was not as dissatisfied with the reply as I might have guessed. Oh, it's impressive you've caught on to that at such a young age. You're right. Strange things that happen in the world of man are all caused by man for his own benefit. My Bara-kun, I'll ask you again. This time not Santa Claus, but Oyashiro-sama. You know anything about who he is? Takano took a step forward towards me and gazed into my eyes as she asked. Santa Claus is really the parents of every family's children. If lionizing that legend was a corporate tactic to try and profit during Christmas sales, then what was Oyashiro? Didn't you already say? There are only humans in this world. Everything can be explained by human actions, right? My Bara-kun, keep this to yourself, okay? This string of freak death incidents attributed to Oyashiro-sama's curse. Takano's view is that they might be premeditated homicides performed by the people of Hinamizawa and based on some kind of ceremony. Don't misunderstand me. My life's work is to research teachings, thoughts, and cultures from the viewpoint of folklorism. I don't really care at all about who the culprit really is. Just keep that in mind, please. I could only tell she was saying some crazy shit. Use a food analogy like you'd force feed a duck to be fattened. She forced her words down my throat. That's what it felt like. To understand that in the first place, you have to go all the way back to ancient times, when Hinamizawa was called Onikafuchi, or the Demon's Abyss. We're back to this, alright. The transcendents who lived there believed themselves to carry the blood of demons and were only half human. Takano, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began to speak of ridiculous matters. Komotake realized she was overawing me and interrupted for me. Takano. You can't just chatter about that stuff to my Bara. Look, he's really confused. Oh my, are you? If you want to hear more, ask me anytime. I have heaps of the grotesque stories that boys your age seem to love hearing. Thanks. If I feel like it, I will. For now, I softly and safely gave my refusal. Takano seemed a little unhappy Tomitake rained on her parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Even so, it was still a very interesting story. That Oyashiro-sama's curse, which we thought of as strange freak deaths, were really homicides perpetrated by people in the village. I mean, if you thought about it logically, well, it would have to be. People wouldn't be dying because of a curse. Someone's obviously killing people and making it look like one. Indeed, as for who that is, it might be safer not to try and find out. You seem like you know Takano-san. You may not have proof, but you seem like you believe it. Oh my, why do you think that? I just felt it kind of vaguely. It didn't seem like her extreme passion for this research would calm down because these things were taboo, or because it was safer and easier. This person loved walking through the profound, forbidden abyss of risks and taboos. Let's leave it at that, my bar. I just helped you escape, and now you're trying to talk about Oyashiro-sama again. Here, I wanted to take a nice walk while it was still cool. Tomohaka seemed disappointed not being able to go to on the date he had planned since I brought up a weird topic. Right now there was something I wanted to ask, just for a little bit, and that was... Really? He's going back onto this topic? Whether Satoko's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. If he was, then another miracle would happen just like last year. Pray for a miracle! A terrible incident would happen, but it would release Satoko from her unfortunate circumstances once more. Well, I do have a few suspicions as to the kind of people who would probably become involved, of course. It's a natural, inevitable conclusion for anyone who's researched the history of Onagafuchi village. Who do you mean? What would I do if I knew? I asked that question to the other me deep inside, but got no reply. How enthusiastic. What would you do if you knew? Nothing, really. If you found out, you might get into danger yourself, you know. Maybe the 5th year's curse would be you. Takano, toying with taboo, gave a devilish, satisfied smile, as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. He was probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like going along with her little game one bit. You like to talk pretty big, but you don't really know yourself, do you, Takano? I felt a tinge of irritation at Takano's roundabout way of speaking, but those emotions escaped my mouth like water flowing through a strainer. Even I was surprised at how directly I spoke about what I felt. Of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback. Oh my, you're something. You may be just a boy, but you can still provoke people. How unexpectedly rugged. I don't dislike people like that, you know. Takano's tongue poked out of her mouth, and I was convinced it was a long, thin, and split in the middle like a snake's. Alright, I'll tell you then. You have to promise me 3 things first. 1, not regretting it no matter what I tell you. 2, not to tell it to anyone. 3, not to tell anyone I told you. I gulped firmly and nodded. Tomitake made an exaggerated expression of distress, giving a dry, vague smile, and lit a cigarette. Tell me, please, who's putting this curse on people? Who's deciding who gets cursed? After I said that, I finally realized why I wanted to know. And the scene ends there. Really? Alright. Many of my classmates were playing freely in the schoolyard. A few of them had just run out of the school building after putting on their shoes and tapping their toes to the ground. It looked like they'd just finished eating lunch. And from a time-manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded. Oh my bar, are you okay? A few girls noticed me and came running over. It was only natural they were worried. You'd think if someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out the rest of the day. I'm just late for school. Don't worry about it. Anyway, what about Satoko? Did she come today? The girls exchanged glances, and I saw a thin shadow fall over their faces. I knew the answer without needing to hear the reply. Satoko was absent today, too. When all was said and done, after being out 3 days, she'd only come back for 1, and now she was out again. Who knew if she would come tomorrow? Yeah, but the teacher said she got a phone call from Satoko. She said she had a cold. She has said everyone should make sure to rinse their mouths out really well. Wait a minute, she is, Sensei. That's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you be more sensitive and catch on the fact your pupil's sending out an SOS? She doesn't have any authority to do anything. Moving on. Even if she did, there was nothing we could hope for. The most she could do was a home visitation. She didn't have any right to take Satoko from her uncle into safety. No matter the result, it would end up being like the public agencies with a wait-and-see attitude. It would piss Satoko's uncle off and her suffering would only grow deeper. There wasn't... Then there... What? Wait, words. Then there was... Why am I thinking there's a there? Then wasn't saying she had a cold the best option? Pretty much, yeah. She's right. Be careful not to catch a cold, got it? You can go now. There's plenty of time left in lunch break. The girls excitedly scattered into the schoolyard. Oh, Keiichi-kun! Reina was yelling at the classroom window, waving her hand. A moment later, Mion and Rika poked their heads out too. We were worried even you would be absent today. Thank goodness. You don't seem sick, and you look pretty okay. I felt uncomfortable with her saying I didn't look sick, but I didn't care that much. What happened? Overslept? Well, late is late. Think if I said I was late because of a train accident, she'd let it slide? You overslept? Man was being a bit persistent. Was she going to put on her club president cap and scold me for being late? Well, maybe she didn't have it in for me, so I briefly stated that she was right. There's still more bento. Everyone eat up. Without Keiichi here, we couldn't have any fun. Satoko's still absent, huh? Even Reina, feigning cheerfulness, couldn't stand to hear that, and her face darkened. She called this morning. Apparently, her cold came back. She's staying home again. Said it might go on for a while, too. She must be sad, so we're all talking about going to visit. What are you saying, Rika? Not pleased with Rika wearing a wide smile as though it was a happy occasion, I threw cold water on her. We know best of all she doesn't have a cold, don't we? Don't ever tell a fib like that, even as a joke. We'll get mad next time. Rika furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology. It's not just you, Keiichi-kun. It's hard for everyone. I know I'm not the only one worrying, but none of us can do anything either, can we? That's true, but... I got the feeling I'd cause another fight if this exchange went on, so I apologized first. Sorry. I'm sorry. Forgot about what I said. It's hard for everyone, right? It must be. It was at least clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams, too. They definitely hadn't stayed up all night thinking so desperately. I mean... honestly, it might have been better if he hadn't stayed up all night thinking. I know it may not be what you want to hear right after you get to school, but you were late today, Kei-chan. Did it have anything to do with Satoko being absent? Mion, what are you talking about? Sometimes you act kind of foolhardy, Kei-chan. When both you and her were absent this morning, we seriously thought you might have kidnapped her and hidden her somewhere. Easy for you to say. If I could have, I'd have done that last night. None of them really thought about how difficult that clear-as-day solution was. I was up all night thinking about that until the night was brightening, and then I concluded that I couldn't do anything of the sort. Don't be dumb. I couldn't hide someone. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize if I upset you. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let's eat some food. I'm starving. I took my bento out of my bag. Everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit. Barakoon, did you just get here? And as I was about to stick my chopsticks in, Chia-sensei came along. Yeah, sorry for being late. I overslept. The heck? Even the teacher was giving me that strange look. When you're finished eating, could you and the president come to the teacher's lounge? There's something I want to talk about. Probably Satoko, I thought. Will the teacher really chew you out for sleeping in once? When, like, another student is literally just, like, staying at home with the excuse, I have a cold for, like, 5 days. Just, like, when everyone knows she's not sick. Like, come on, man. Sensei left it at that and went back out into the hallway. Eating lunch can wait. Let's go, Mion. You're right. Mion and I exchanged looks, nodded to each other, and got up. It's probably about Satoko-chan. Yeah, no doubt about it. They were saying she had a cold, but everyone in class knew the truth. I didn't think that wouldn't have reached the teacher's ears by now. I kept playing dumb, so I think she gave up on asking me. Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Was that why she hadn't said anything? Or was it because she was Satoko's friend and knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home? What should we do? Maybe we use this chance to get a collective opinion? What do you want to do, Rika? Satoko's closest and best friend was Rika. However much I pretend to be her Nini, it didn't come close to the amount of time they spent together. So I felt like her opinion should be held in highest regard. I know why Satoko's enduring her uncle's torture. Everyone looked startled, then turned to me. Back when Satoko was abused, she probably cried and hid behind her brother, but Satoko thinks that in the end that's why her brother ran. Who did you get that from? Coach, I bet. I nodded quietly. Satoko believes her brother will come back if she can withstand the abuse. Maybe that's why she's trying to push through, but that assumption has nothing to do with Satoshi coming back. It hurts to say that about her, but it's the truth. Everyone hung their heads. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Satoko probably won't be happy no matter who helps her. She wants to withstand everything with her own strength, but is it really right to respect that? I don't think it is, even if she hates us for a while. I think there will become a time when we need to save her against her will, and I think that time might be now. I told them about what I saw, and how I felt when I went to Satoko's house yesterday. Keiichi, you think we should tell someone? Only if we're sure that reporting it to an agency will guarantee your safety. Without being sure, it'll just get more dangerous instead. Difficult problem. You think we can get a definite promise out of the teacher? I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Rika had her hand raised for a while, as if asking for an opportunity to speak. I'm the teacher, class. Look at me. I'm the teacher now. I'll leave it to Keiichi. What? Is that okay, Rika? Keiichi's thinking about Satoko more than anyone else here. If Keiichi thinks we need to tell someone, I have no complaints. Thanks. Mion? Brenda, are you okay with that? Mion seemed to hesitate, not knowing if she should agree. But when she saw Reina's firm nod, she made up her mind and did the same. Okay. Let's go, Mion. Right. Okay. Gotta get Mion's voice right. It's been a while since we had Mion dialogue. Only Chie was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see the principal anywhere. The schedule on the blackboard under the principal's name said, training, then going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was just too strong. Toko's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck he wasn't here. When the teacher saw Mion and I come in, she closed up her curry bento, saving the rest for later. I like how they're always specific about what she's eating. Then again, there is also a plate of curry. And there is what appears to be a jar containing garlic on her desk as well. Sit over there, please. She told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing the paperwork for transferring in. The two of us sat there uncomfortably before the teacher walked over carrying a notebook and ballpoint pen and sat in front of us. Maibara, you were absent this morning. Did something happen? Sorry, I overslept. Really? I have no reason to lie. She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. Now I was sure of it. She wanted to talk about Satoko. In any case, I think you two already know, but your friend Hojo-san's been away frequently lately. Neither Mion nor I had anything to say in response. But the teacher was proceeding, not minding. Would you happen to know anything? There's some people in class spreading bad rumors. Mion looked down, remaining silent as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. Everyone made up their minds. They'd be leaving things to me. Oh boy, Keiichi is the decision maker. Good luck, Keiichi. Good luck, Keiichi. Remember, this is Keiichi, who managed to get not only himself, but also Shion killed in the last run. This man has done nothing but make bad mistakes under pressure. If you can find a way to throw harder than this man, I would be impressed. This is the kind of guy who's like, all I have to do is attack for lethal. And then they're like, Instead of going to combat, they just end their turn, and they're like, oh, yeah, I could have won, oops. And they do that not just like in a regular match, in like grand finals of a major. Like, he throws hard. When he throws hard. Mion-kun? Or you, my bar? I won't get mad or anything, okay? If you know something, I just want you to tell me. Sensei, can we ask you a question first? She must not have anticipated that response. She looks surprised. I don't know what rumors are going around Satoko in class, but if the rumors happen to be true, what would you do, Sensei? What would I do? Well, if it's true, I can't leave it alone. Can't leave what alone? What do you do? Sensei's eyebrows shot up. Maybe I said it like I was trying to pick a fight. Bara, I'm being serious here. So am I. I'm also being completely serious right now. Please answer. If it were true, well, wouldn't you leave alone? Sensei took a few breaths and began to speak slowly. First, I'd have to visit her house to confirm the situation. Her uncle might get mad and drive you away, though. Well, okay. Let's say you met with Satoko and her uncle. Then what? I'd ask whether it was true. Once I got the facts, I'd go from there. Please stop talking so vaguely. What would you do? Despite my tone being so provocative, Chie bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought then that she was a good teacher. Chie really did have her students' best interest at heart, but she didn't have the power or the authority to save Satoko. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation could get more complicated. She folded her arms and for a few moments closed her eyes as though mentally concentrating. And when they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before. It looks the same as her usual face. Her usual angry face. There's a law called child welfare law. It clearly states abuse against children is not allowed no matter who it is. So it would seem, and then what? I'd contact the prefecture's child consultation center. You said just now I'd be turned away, didn't you? Child welfare officers can bring the police with the situation demands. They won't submit to intimidation. And how many days after you contact the social worker and submit the paperwork for her to be saved? Be same day. Their job's to guarantee the immediate safety of children. I know that. That's if they decide there's an urgent need. If they didn't, they'd do the same as you. They'd go from there. They'd just wait and see, right? They'd just watch. It would make Satoko's uncle's mood sour, and Satoko would be stuck with him there. Shit, it's going a little too far. I'm not lying, am I? Last year, or the year before, that's exactly what happened when the child welfare people came, isn't it? And what happened then? You and Sensei would know about it a lot better than I would. I said too much. I didn't need Mion to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure we could save Satoko, but I basically told her everything from the start. Chie looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's seat. Hello? Put me through to extension 3455, please. Is this okay, Kei-chan? Is this really okay? It was too late. The die had been cast. I love how Keiichi approaches things. It's so bad. It's like, alright, I need to do everything I can not to tell her that Satoko's being abused. So anyway, if those rumors were true, what would you do? What would you do then? And if you were to report her child services, how long would it take? A week? And then she probably wouldn't get anything, just like last time? Oh shit, what? Literally just like gives away everything. Everything in like the most roundabout way. So it's like he starts off trying to get information out of them, and instead just vomits all his information. Oh my goodness, it's so bad. Now we could only pray. Thank you for answering my call. I'm Chie, a licensed teacher at Hanamizawa Branch School. Would Director Watanabe happen to be in the guidance office? Yes, that's right. Something urgent. I'd like to contact the principal as soon as I can. Yes, thank you. Please tell immediately. Thank you. The teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back, taking a breath like I always did. I'll ask the two of you again. Are the rumors really true? Yes. Yesterday I went to her house myself and saw for myself just how bad it really is. You can leave the rest to me. I'll definitely do something for Satoko. Something? Please stop saying such ambiguous things. Not something. We have to save her. If they end up deciding to wait and see again, how do you take responsibility? While I was yelling, the phone rang. Chie snatched the receiver up first. Hello? Oh, sorry for interrupting your training. Yes. Actually, it's about the issue with Satoko. Yes. Sensei waved us away, telling us we could leave now. Mion went to leave, but I held my ground. I had a responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. If it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her. Yes. No, I haven't contacted them yet. Yes. I haven't confirmed it, but it seems bad from what the children are saying. It's not just pretty bad. Do something about it. Right now. You're gonna report it. I don't care what you tell. But I swear, if they end up just watching and waiting, I'll never forgive you. I yelled angrily at Sensei and the principal on the other end. I wanted to somehow, some way convey to them just how dangerous their situation is right now. I understand that. I'll tell them as much. Mion, please, take my bar back to the classroom. Yes, ma'am. Let's go, Kei-chan. We should leave this to the teachers now. Better promise. At the very last moment, I glared at Sensei. Chie-sensei was feeling pressured by the likes of me. Idiot, this isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when you give me a firm nod to reassure me. Even so, we'd already left things in their hands. At this point, we really can't do anything but pray. Well, if this is the line you're gonna play... Bang. Mion shut the door to the teacher's lounge. If this is the line you're gonna play, dude, I don't know if that was the best play, but it was okay. I feel like you should have had an answer for what she does if she's getting taken away, and you didn't even bother to set that up. I feel like that was like the worst play. Come on, dude. Like he walked in with a plan, completely fucked up his own plan. Oh boy, how does Keiichi manage to throw so hard? So impressive. Oh, the chapter's over already. Damn, that was a short chapter. Alright. Well, let's look at the new tips. An article, okay. Article 2, definition of child abuse. Well, this is going to be a useful article, isn't it? The term child abuse means the following acts committed by a custodian, meaning a person who exercises parental authority, a guardian of a minor, or another person who is currently engaged in the custody of a child, hereinafter the same shall apply. Against a child, meaning a person who is under 18 years of age, hereinafter the same shall apply. Assault the child in a manner that will cause, or is likely to cause, external injury on the body of a child. Engage in indecency against the child or cause the child to engage in indecency. Substantially reduce the amount of food of the child or abandon and neglect them for a long period in a manner that may interfere with normal development of the child mentally or physically or otherwise materially, fail to perform the duty of a custodian, or speak or behave in a manner that would significantly be traumatic to the child. Article 3, prohibition of child abuse. No person shall abuse a child. Law, Act 82 of 2000. Authored by the Minister of Health and Welfare. Okay. Yeah, that was about as obvious as it could be. Not super relevant, honestly. It was information, but it wasn't new information, and it didn't expand what it is. Like most people, I feel like most people, especially people who'd be reading a visual novel, probably know what child abuse is. At least from like a high level perspective, like that would give you, where it's like, okay, this is what child abuse is, and it's like, yes, you've given me a description of what I already know to be child abuse. Okay. Like, anyone not know what it is? No? Okay. Principal abusers in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5352. Mother by blood 2943. Mother not by blood 203, so 3.8%. Okay. Father by blood 1445, 27%. Father not by blood 488, 9.1%. 019 something else. Instances by type of abuse in cases reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Total 5,352. Physical abuse 2,780. Neglect 1,728. Psychological abuse 458. Forbidden from going to school 75. Sexual violence 311. Well, the good news is there is wait. Being forbidden from going to school is part of child abuse. Wait a minute. They classified being prevented from going to school as a type of abuse. Today we learned that she doesn't need to say anything other than getting Satoko to say she wasn't allowed to go to school due to her uncle's treatment. It's a type of abuse if your guardian prevents you from going to school. So it's like, oh yeah, she missed 4 days. Her uncle had her cleaning the house. Technically abuse. That one was actually a useful tip. Because it told us that they could probably argue that her being forced to clean was abuse. But she would also probably deny that, but I don't think she'd probably just say she actually had a cold. Even if they don't believe that's the case. Still, if you were working for that, you could argue that being forced to stay home from school counts as abuse. Is abuse because it's the type of abuse, so that's cool. Now we know that it's actually not that hard to get that abuse case. You just have to hit on that point. Focus on that point. The die of fate had been cast, and by a complete amateur at that. Reporting to a public agency, which we'd kept being warned could instead result in something far worse if we didn't have the evidence first. And just like that, had I failed? Had I let my emotions get the better of me in that moment? Yes. Yes, you did. Maybe I should have stayed silent and left everything to Mion, since she'd been relatively calm. I remember the punishment game where we had to badmouth Curry, and how me saying anything would have made it worse, since Satoko told us to leave the talking to her. Maybe it was the same thing here. I was impulsive, so maybe I should have just shut up and looked at the floor. It was too late to lament that. The die I had thrown wouldn't be coming back to my hands. All we could do was pray for something good to happen. I think the appropriate answer now is to call your parents and try to set up for what happens if her uncle gets taken away. Try to set up for, like, the positive case, because there's nothing you can do for the negative case, right? You've already done everything you can do to ensure you don't lose. So now the only thing you can do is try to set up for if you win, right? Or are you going to try and get evidence today? I mean, are you going to try and get evidence today? Like, go find Tomitake? I mean, you didn't even bother asking about that. Like, a camera would have been real convenient. Keiichi, you did everything you could, so leave it to the teachers now, okay? He also didn't do much. I mean, fucking anybody could have told the teacher that. Fucking anybody could have told the teacher. Rika could have told the teacher. Everything I could. If I really gave everything I had, I'd really struggled. I would have dragged Satoko out of her home last night and hidden her in some abandoned house. I didn't. It means I didn't do everything I could. Stop thinking about it, alright? You're being a little too persistent, Keiichi. At this rate, you'll collapse. Leave me alone. I left her with all those words and stared lazily at the ceiling. I wondered if I really got Chie to understand. Would the public agency intervene and solve everything in a day? Would they acknowledge the abuse and guarantee your safety? After lunch break, our afternoon classes were mostly self-study. The teacher came back to classroom occasionally, but then the phone in the lounge would ring, and she'd have a long conversation with the caller. Everyone in class got the feeling they knew what those phone calls were about. Sensei came trotting back from the classroom. Sorry for all the phone calls recently. Let's call it a day. President, please leave the class. Everybody stand up. And that's how it ends. It looked to me like Sensei had been wearing a dark expression ever since after lunch. It wasn't a very relieving expression. It wouldn't be. Even if Sensei 100% understood the situation and passionately explained it to the other person, at the end, the Child Consultation Center, as a public agency, would be the ones to decide whether to get her to safety. Sensei understood that as well as us, and that's why she looked so unreliable right now. Kei-chan, let's go home. I don't think anyone feels like having club today. Kei-chan, it's no fun if someone's not here. Reina was right. It's no fun for us if someone was missing. If the teacher's expression showed more promise, maybe we could have gone home more comfortably, but I couldn't let myself feel relieved. I couldn't be naive and tell myself all I can do is pray now that the dice had been cast. Just in case they didn't get her to safety and decided to wait and see again, I'd need to take further measures. We asked the people who could do something official already, and there's one more place that's worth asking for help. Now, she might laugh it off, or I might be right, and I could be endangering my own life, but I'd try. Oh, Mion. Is it okay if I stop by your place today? You've got a lot of manga, right? I want to borrow a bunch. Sure, I guess. There was an ominous meaning behind my word, so Mion realized what I really meant right away. I wanted to talk about something alone. That's what I meant. Micha and Keiichi, let's go home. Rina already had her shoes on and was waving to us from the schoolyard. Mion's house was gigantic in every way imaginable. The house itself was a vaguely old-fashioned traditional Japanese house, but the yard, or I guess their plot of land, was enormous. It easily convinced me they were really major landowners with Hinamizawa under their thumb. Mion brought me through the guest room and a servant brought us some tea. Wow, you really are rich, huh? You even got housekeepers? Grandma and I are the only ones who live here. I wouldn't be able to do everything myself. The servant left, telling us it was 5 o'clock, then withdrew with soft footsteps. We have people come in and take care of Grandma and clean 2 or 3 times a week. They come in rotations of 3 or 4, so there's someone here almost every day. Only until evening, though. And if we're having a party or something where we need more help, we call up different people. If you had the money to hire all these people, then just take Satoko in. I glared at her as I thought that, and Mion seemed to catch on immediately. Sorry, it's fine. I know it's not a money problem. To be clear, my family may be rich, but it's not money I can use freely for myself, okay? I don't want you to misunderstand that. It kind of looked like I was bullying her. Mion had been apologizing to me a lot lately. Was Mion the sort of person who'd do that this much? Maybe it's just I've been looking so grim lately. So, what's up? You had something to talk about, right? Yes, we did. But what are we talking about? I have something pretty serious to discuss, Mion. This will be sudden and you might be surprised, but I want you to hear me out. What? I'll give you away at first. If what I say is true, you don't need to admit it. Is he really gonna ask her to fucking demon away the uncle? Oh my, like, why does he need to ask this? I actually, like, super uncomfortable with him just walking up and accusing her of being the fucking killer, but I mean, it's true, right? You don't need to admit it, you're allowed to play dumb. But I want you to listen until the end. Is this where we're going? This is where we're going, right? That's why the scene cut off earlier. I can't believe he would operate under this. Imagine just going to an adult and being like, they're like, hello there. Imagine going up to an adult and they're like, I think this person's a serial killer. And you're like, hey, and then you go up to the serial killer and you're like, hey, serial killer, I don't know who you're planning on killing next, but do you mind killing my friend's uncle? They're a complete asshole. And it's like, are you fucking serious, dude? Are you fucking serious? If nothing else, that's like trying to hire someone to commit murder. That's illegal, my friend. Alright, I have something to say to the next leader of what's still the most important of the 3 families of Onagafuchi Village, Mion Sonozaki. Oh boy. At first, Mion looked like she had no idea what I was saying, but at hearing the whole sentence and putting it together, she reacted. Where did you hear that? It doesn't really matter. I definitely couldn't tell her who told me. Nakano, you told me not to, but please forgive me. This is why I asked you, after all. I was surprised you'd heard of the Onagafuchi Village, Keiichi, but you seem to know a lot of things, both true and false about me. Yeah, true and false. I really might just have the wrong impression here, but I'm okay with that, so listen. And if it really is true... I don't know if you're getting at Keiichi, but let me say this beforehand. You've got a big misunderstanding. If it were possible, I wouldn't want to hear what you're about to say. Because even if you said it, I can't do anything to help you. Still, if talking about it will lighten your burden even a little, I'll listen. I'm only just going to listen. Nothing more will happen. Are you okay with that? Yeah. So, like, seriously, dude? Mion seemed to know what kind of thing I'd be talking about. Like, okay, this escalated way too fast, though. Like, imagine going like, my friend's in trouble, they have an abusive parent, and you're like, the police may not be able to help. And instead of being like, can I get my parents to shelter them? His first thought is, I should hire a hitman. I should get the Yakuza to hit this guy. Like, really, dude? You're not gonna try, you're not gonna actually go to try anything else? You're gonna go straight to hitman? Come on, man. Come on. Alright. She warned me that doing so would be fruitless. That much was obvious. If what I was gonna say was true, then the Sonozaki family would be the mastermind behind the tree of freak incidents that had been occurring every year in Hinamizawa. You know the stuff about Oyashiro-sama's curse, right? Mion nodded a little. No one knows what it is or why it happens. Even if each incident is solved, the string of deaths and accidents as a whole are still a mystery. But there's one thing connecting them all, and that's how the targets are always enemies of the village. Seems like it. Mion spoke as if it didn't relate to her. That was fine. She didn't have to admit it. For now, I just want her to stay quiet and listen to me. The day after tomorrow is Watanagashi, isn't it? Has the sacrifice for this year's curse been decided already? Mion didn't answer. Her expression remained the same, too. Like she said, she was just quietly listening. Sorry, the promise was you just listen. It's weird for me to ask a question, right? Mion gave me a look she'd never given me before. A faraway, sympathetic one. She didn't nod. She just smiled faintly and listened to me. If this year's curse isn't going to be on Satoko's uncle, then change it to him. I mean, last year it was her aunt, right? It's in the right order. It wouldn't be weird. You're right. It seems like there's an order. I mean, after her aunt died to the curse, he abandoned Satoko and fled the town for a whole year. Why wouldn't a guy like that definitely be next on the list? Shouldn't be any issue with choosing him this year. I see. If he were to die from the curse this year, no one would see anything unusual about it. I heard Oyashiro's curse as well. No matter how I looked at it, I wasn't sure whether I should continue. No matter how hard I tried, the words wouldn't come out. The string of freak deaths in Hinamizawa also called the curse. You're saying that incidents were perpetrated by the village, carried out by the three families at the Sonozaki's instructions, is that it? I don't care one bit whether you have anything to do with it. I'm just saying, if you have any way of communicating with whoever decides the targets, I want you to tell him to choose Satoko's uncle, please. Everything you've been saying has been terrible. Satoko. Oh my god, Mion, that's so true. I like how Mion's just like, Jesus Christ, this kid. He's like, well, I'm powerless, time to murder. He's more of a psychopath than I am. If the freak death incidents were carried out by the will of the family, that would mean the main culprit would be me, wouldn't it? I would have chosen the target of the curse given the instructions, killed many people, and gotten rid of others. You're calling me a murderer, Kei-chan. I didn't say that. Didn't you listen to me? I don't care whether you're the one behind the murders or not. I don't. Even if you're the culprit, it doesn't change the fact you're my friend. It doesn't matter at all. If the police are chasing you, I'd come to help. I'd make you an alibi and even help you escape. Because we're friends and comrades, aren't we? Mion looked surprised for a while. She's dumbfounded. It's like, you've known me for 2 months and you're already like, I'd lie to the police for you? Really? Now you're declaring yourself complicit? Kei-chan, that's pretty bold of you. Don't interrupt. Satoko's uncle... No. Choose him first. Stop right there, Kei-chan. I want to start on dinner soon, so I'd like to leave things at this. Mion! I then realized my cheeks were wet with tears. They slid down my chin and fell, drip-drop to the tatami mat. Like I said at the start, you've got a big misunderstanding. The curse is just that. Even if there were people behind those incidents, they don't have anything to do with the Sonozaki family, or me either. Right. I understand, it's just... It was touching to hear a desperate plea, Kei-chan, but that's all it was. Even if I wanted to help, I can't. You understand that, right? Yeah. But now I know how you feel. So well it hurts. If I really were, like you'd said, the one controlling the three families and choosing the sacrifices every year, I'd probably grant your wish. Mion. But the reality is different. I'm just Mion Sonozaki. My family may be subject to all sorts of bad rumors about controlling Hinamizawa. We have nothing to do with the freak death incidents. That's exactly what someone who would say. Exactly like someone who does rule the area from the shadows would say. We may have been a little extreme to the damn war, but that's all. We'd never do something so insane as to kill people. Don't say such things. She's 500% lying. Not even like a little bit. It's like the most transparent way of lying. Right now, at least. I don't care. Why can't you be nice and lie to me? Keiichi, you're free to believe what you like. If I lied to you now, you'd be convinced Satoko would be free the day after tomorrow, and you'd be able to shed much of your burden. However, reality is harsh. Satoko's uncle will survive beyond that day. He'll be alive next week, the week after that. You need to prepare yourself for that. I don't want you coming to me the day after Tatarigoroshi and demanding to know why he wasn't killed. Mion stood up slowly, closed the sliding door to keep out the wind that had grown chilly. Was it Mio-san? Did she give you all those ideas? She really likes to misunderstand things about Hinamizawa. Well, we can't let her have her fun. We can let her have her fun, but I don't really want her influencing you, Kei-chan. Jeez. This is why outsiders are no good. Takano has nothing to do with it. Right, don't worry. Even though I know she told you about it, Kei-chan, nothing's gonna happen. It's not like Mio will be chosen for this year's curse. Besides, we don't even know for sure if the curse will happen this year. Maybe it was all a pile of unfortunate coincidences. Thanks for listening. If you aren't connected to the deaths at all, that must have been an uncomfortable conversation. I'll apologize for it. I see. You'll apologize for it. That was a super awkward going. Mion said she didn't have much time, but she still brought me to the gate. She said she had a meeting or something today about Sunday's Tatarigoroshi festival, so there'd be a lot of people from town and the festival committee coming. Despite her day being so busy, she still listened to what I had to say. If there's a God in heaven, he probably understands how strongly you feel. Yeah, I'm sorry for being so weird today. You can pretend this discussion never happened if you want. Okay, I'll forget about it. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. I had really only spent a short time with Mion. Talking to her made me think, though. It was clear what Takano had told me at least wasn't a complete fabrication. If Mion was really unconnected to the incident, she probably wouldn't have listened to me so quietly. It's true, right? She heard me out until I was done without making any quips, and I wanted to think that was proof. I mean, I don't know if it's proof, but she is actually connected. At least in the last two routes. In the last two routes / arcs, I did kind of feel like I was grasping at straws. I feel like you're grasping at straws 100%, dude. You're an idiot. Of course, thinking back on it, it was a terrible thing to discuss. I mean, if I went to my friend's house, called her a serial killer, and told her to kill Satoko's uncle, and you didn't even offer compensation other than sorry for the awkward conversation. I was the only one talking the whole time. Mion quietly listened to everything I had to say like a pastor listening to a confession. She could have gotten angry partway through, told me off. I had to go wash my face in miso soup and come back later. But she didn't. Was that proof her family, the Sonozaki, were the masterminds? Or was she just listening because she felt sorry for me going kind of crazy? I don't know what it was, but it was one effort I could make at that moment. It was another form of insurance. Did the worst come to worst and the public agency decided to wait and see? Interesting. It was a completely useless resistance. Literally grasping at straws, but there, you're doing it all the same, my dude. Grasping at straws, bet you still do it. You're still grasping for the straws. You're still going for it. Sensei said if she reported to Child Consultation Center, they'd have to respond same day. Could they already be in the middle of responding now? If Satoko came to school tomorrow morning all energetic, then everything would be a needless fear. Why couldn't tomorrow just come faster? Dude, didn't they already say that you needed to have a follow-up? Like, who's she gonna stay at? He still doesn't cover that. He had plenty of opportunity, but he didn't fucking do it when he was... Oh, alright. When he was already planning on, like, stealing her away the next day. That night was unusually hot and humid, and I couldn't get to sleep. I said all that to Sensei. They couldn't possibly decide to wait and see again this year. Satoko, what was it like for her tonight? Had she tasted the end of her nightmare, enjoying a night of liberation? I actually put my hands together and prayed into my futon. I mean, if they were smart, they'd just start surveillance on the house. Good morning, Keiichi. Morning. Thank goodness. I thought you overslept today, too. Your mom said you'd gone on ahead yesterday and then you weren't at school. I was worried you got in a heat stroke halfway there. Yeah, sorry for that worry. Hey, good morning. Mi-chan, good morning. Oh, you really stink of liquor. You look about it for sure. Oh, right. Wasn't there a big business meeting with all the people on the town council yesterday? They only called it that. It was more like a party. We have the festival every year, right? We wouldn't have any annoying meetings at this point. Are you going to help with the festival this afternoon then? Yep. I have to do a meet and greet with all sorts of people in Grandma's place. They already started setting up for the festival. Okay. Our morning conversation was lighthearted as usual. It looked like Mion had thankfully forgotten about how I'd barged into her house yesterday with that crazy talk. The more I think back on it, I feel like I said something really terrible to her. You did call your friend a serial killer. I was really thoughtless, and it wouldn't have been weird if she yelled at me yesterday. It was highly possible Takano had exaggerated her story. To think that our comrade and friend Mion, the young leader of the Sonozakis, one of the three families effectively controlling Hinamizawa, was pulling the strings behind the serial death incidents, that was a little unbelievable. But if there was even a 1% chance that it was true, then what I said yesterday to Mion might have been a success. It was no more than 1 in 100, but that little bit of effort might have brought the chances of staving Satoko up even a tiny bit. At least I'd made that effort. After yesterday ended, I was sure I'd done everything I possibly could. Did he talk to his parents last night? Did you talk to your parents even once about what to do? Come on, man. He says, I did everything. That, like, you didn't, you chickened out on, like, the easiest thing. If there was something else I could do, it was probably just to clap my hands and pray Satoko's uncle would be killed by the curse. I hope Satoko makes it today. Me too. Since he's doing things for her, right? I'm sure it'll be fine. My aunt's a welfare agent in the Hinamizawa district. I gave her a call last night. Well, I didn't know your aunt was a welfare officer. What happened? You tell her about Satoko? Yep, she is, since they called the Child Consultation Center right after we talked to her. A child welfare officer apparently visited before the night was over. My aunt said they're going to pay visits at regular intervals from now on. Oh, so like the same thing. Enough with the dumb little stuff. I want to know what happened to Satoko. Did they get her safe? My aunt wasn't that informed about it. I was supposed to keep this a secret anyway. Her telling me was a big breach of ethics in the first place. Damn, that makes me feel worse. Let's get to school. Right. I bet Satoko will be at school today. Discussing this more would just make us feel worse. It was far quicker to go to school and see if Satoko was safe or not. 3 of us nodded and ran off. Was Satoko safe? What measures had the consultation center taken? I didn't care what. As long as we could go back to our peaceful life with Satoko, it didn't matter to me. At the shoe racks at the entrance, Reina took a peek in Satoko's shoe cubby. Ah, Satoko's shoes are here. They're here. Keiichi and Satoko came. Thank goodness. We don't know if anything happened just because she came to school. We can't know anything until we see her face. We trotted towards the classroom. The classroom was lively, as it usually was in the morning. Satoko? Where are you? She's right here. It's too early in the morning to be so loud. Would you please give it down a bit? Satoko! Are you okay? All our friends crowded around Satoko excitedly. A probation officer came, right? How'd it go? Who was it that called them? I swear it was quite a mess, you know. It was the teacher. You were absent for so long, of course she was worried. Satoko said, I told you I'm fine, under her breath. She was still trying to overcome all the suffering on her own. It's a big bother to both me and my uncle. That person just barged in on us suddenly. Jeez. Everyone was worried about you, Satoko. Don't say it was a bother. Oh, jeez. Anyway, what happened? Nothing happened. Oh, my cold got better, so I came back to school, that's all. I can't take too much time off from now on, because then you'll all worry about me. Oh. What was Satoko saying? What happened to, well, your uncle? Oh, he admitted there were some misunderstandings, and we both apologize. Oh. Rika grabbed the back of my collar and pulled me away. AKA, you fucked up. What is it, Rika? Rika silently dragged me all the way into the hallway. Rika, what did that mean? Toko said nothing was happening and chased them away. Exactly as we predicted! That idiot! But why? Somewhere in my mind I thought it might turn out like this, but you went for it anyway, you potato! Satoko didn't ask for anyone's help. She didn't hide behind anyone. She was trying to ride out the pain. She wanted to show Satoshi proof that if he came back to them, she wouldn't need to hide behind him anymore. Look, why is he making up these bad excuses? He already knows they don't work, right? Like, I don't understand why he's, like, suddenly drinking all this copium. Or it's like he's already of the opinion that they wouldn't do anything, and then he's like, why aren't they doing anything? It's like, you already said you didn't think they'd do anything. Why are you surprised? It's like spending the last $50 in your bank account and then being like, why is my card being declined? I need to buy an Xbox. Like, what? You spent the last $50 in your account. What the fuck are you expecting, dude? You don't have any money. Like, come on, man. Coach said officers can bring her to safety in an emergency, even if it's against her wishes. Yeah, they have to be really obvious, dude. However much Satoko denies the abuse, it's a fact. Chie finally came. Her expression was far from cheerful. You're right, my bar. If the child officer determines it's an emergency, they have the right to immediately take them to safety, regardless of the affected party's intent. Then why? Why is Satoko's intent being respected so much? It's weird. Why don't they put her into safety? Well, after the person in charge at the consultation center looked into it, from many angles, they determined. The hell is this, Sensei? Didn't you say it? Sweetheart, you definitely say it. The hell's the meaning of this? It doesn't make any sense. Answer me, damn it! Keiichi. It's actually the third time someone's reported Satoko's abuse. It happened twice in the past, too. Furude. Sensei tried to stop her, but Rika went on speaking anyway. Twice before. I heard they decided to wait and see after reporting the winter before last. What happened before then, too? Satoko's father who died wasn't her real father. What? Rika, what? I was stunned at this sudden revelation. I had no idea what Rika wanted to tell me, but it seemed really important, so I couldn't get a word in either. Satoko's mother remarried. She brought Satoko and Satoshi with her. They were blood related to their father. Satoshi was a good kid who listened politely to what adults told him. He was immediately welcomed by their new father and loved. Satoko was different. Rebellious, she told lies, she played pranks. Her stepfather didn't like her at all. What? So, what do you mean? Even before she was given to uncle and wife, Satoko didn't have a good relationship with her family. Of course, her stepfather didn't have malicious intent at the start. At first, he must have worked hard to get his new daughter to accept him. But the young Satoko didn't make any effort at all towards that end. She was distant and never opened her heart to him even a little. She got on his nerves all the time with seemingly forced lies and pranks. Her father's discipline and punishment must have been loving at first, but that faded quickly. I don't know, because I wasn't in Hinamizawa at the time, but I learned this on the phone yesterday. What did you hear, Sensei? Satoko-chan wanted to trick her parents, especially her stepfather, so she inflicted wounds on herself so she could make up a false story about abuse. And she sent out an SOS herself. She made up a story about hurting herself. Satoko made a false phone call, trying to get rid of her father she hated. Child welfare officers rushed there and heard the story. Her father genuinely apologized for a few times when he'd gone too far and agreed to let the officer give him coaching. Related agencies looked into it quite a bit. They determined Satoko and her stepfather's hearts not quite having matched up was the cause of the incident, but they found another problem above that with Satoko. A problem with Satoko. Satoko's mother. There were a few times where she had lived with de facto husbands, though those relationships didn't result in remarriage. From a young age, Satoko had been forced to call at least 2 or 3 people her father, and at some point her pranks escalated. She'd spill food on purpose, turn over her plate, and even throw it. She'd break the windows in the neighborhood and shoplift candy. She'd put thumbtacks everywhere and set other traps to seriously hurt people. Not the way she did now, just to get laughs. She was also fond of telling lies that would be found out right away, and people got mad at her every time. But she never, ever changed her behavior. Please don't think Satoko was a problem child. Satoko was young. Those are acts of self-defense. She took these unknown men. Her unknown men wouldn't take their mother from her. In regards to Satoko's problematic behavior, child psychology experts from public institutions indicated her actions were to draw her mother's attention to herself. They acknowledged she had a form of harmful emotional trauma and declared she needed counseling and therapy from professionals. They didn't know whether that therapy had healed wounds in her heart. She purposely hurt herself and told them she was being abused by her stepfather in an attempt to chase him out. But in the end, her stepfather did abuse her, right? No. All the abuse was made up by Satoko. Her stepfather may have scolded her in a somewhat emotional way, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. Satoko lied to chase away her stepfather, and they saw through her right away and found out that Satoko had issues. Oh, could it be that's why they decided to wait and see? Yes. The Child's Consultation Center had all their past records. They needed to act carefully in case Satoko was lying. The hell? So, now what? Satoko's telling a lie, so they need to be careful. Does that mean they'd end up just waiting and seeing? Is the girl incredible? The fable about telling a lie once, making others unwilling to believe you later. Yep, looks like she could. That's BS. The past has nothing to do. Yes, it does. She's already lied. They don't know if she's telling the truth because they don't know Satoko at present. Only what's happening now is important. Are you sure? Satoko's being abused by her uncle. Why is something that happened in the past getting in the way of telling her now? Because that's how it goes. People don't. If someone doesn't know your current state, they only know what they have on record. That's what you look like. You should pay attention. You should pay attention. This is all happening in like the span of 2 years, my dude. Neither Sensei nor Rika had anything to say to that. Anyway, yesterday, a probation officer visited to carefully determine what was going on. And so Satoko dealt with them, put on the best, strongest smile she could, and denied the abuse. Of course, she was probably being threatened to keep quiet about it by her uncle. She was trying to outlast everything without asking for help. Satoko wanted to wait for Satoshi to come back home, and she outright denied the truth of the abuse. What an idiot. Not really enduring it. Do you really think pretending like this will bring Satoshi back? Just stop it already. Satoshi, he abandoned you, and the fact he hasn't shown up to save you is proof, isn't it? Stop it. Stop being weird and pretending to endure it. Forget everything we just said, understand? If you tell anyone else, your teacher will be very mad at you. I'm sorry, you're speaking to the wrong person. If anyone asks, he'll be blabbering. Chie gave me a warning and left to go back to the teacher's lounge. Keiichi, please don't think Satoko's a pathetic, pitiful girl. Living life. I know that. She's our irreplaceable friend. Satoko's still trying her best. Let's watch over a little longer. The person from the consultation center said they'd visit periodically from now on. If something terrible happens, they'll help her right away. Yeah, after it happens. Any more than that would have sounded like I was picking a fight, so I firmly swallowed my next words and went back to the classroom. Mion and Reina were talking to Satoko like they always did. It was a silly conversation. A humorous, fun one like it was any old day. If Satoko really said she could still endure it, then maybe I should do as Rika said and watch over her. Maybe whatever help I offer will just go unwanted. Alright, so that at the end of the day, he decided to go with Child Protective Services when he knew she'd lie to them. That was literally like the worst choice he could make, but okay. Okay, why don't we have lunch? It's been a while since it's been all 5 of us. It really is how it has to be. Here. Come on, you too, Kei-chan. Bring your desk over. Satoko brought her own desk over as well, grinning broadly. Even knowing nothing had been resolved, this exchange was pleasant and made me remember how fun it used to be. I can't have Rika making a bento for me forever. I don't mind. Have fun making your bento. Rika's such a good girl. Having such a good friend must be so reassuring. I put the big steak in mine, and the burned one in Satoko's. Stuff is just Satoko. It'd be so sad, so very sad. I take it back. Well, she is Rika-chan after all. Hey, come on now, look, I got omelet rice today. Mushrooms and stuff are delicious. Delicious! I'd say every time, your craftsmanship is splendid. You can become a wife whenever and not have a problem. Or just become a master chef. Come on, become a chef. A wife? A wife? Eating a wife? Huh? Using the word wife is totally forbidden around Reina. Please don't say it again. Why not? I'll think about what I've done, just a little. By the way, what's in your lunch, Mion? It looks different again today, like, we're all waiting in anticipation. Oh, it's a rich assortment of side dishes left over from what my uncle brought last night. The stew looks really good, huh? The color of the radishes, too? Really good, right? Oh wow, it's so delicious. Stew tastes best when it's left over now. This looks like it would be really good. So there'll be none left for Satoko. I'll eat it all and tell you what I think, so just be quiet and watch. What was that? Hand over my person too. Hand over my person. Ugh. Hand over my person. Elbow punch headbutt. I'll use my knees too. Huh. Ho ho. At close range like this, my advantage is unwavering. Keiichi-san, the daikon in your portion tastes really good. Damn it, coming for me right for the start and using a combo attack? How humiliating. This little exchange, how long had it been? It looked like they ended up going with the wait-and-see approach, but maybe her uncle had realized he'd gone a bit too far and would dial it back for now. If her treatment improved a little, would that be a good thing? Satoko was grinning wider than I'd ever seen as she chomped down on her mouthful of daikon she'd plundered from me. Did it really taste that good? Satoko was somewhat cute like that. Suddenly we go to a background. And just as I'd done many times, I grabbed her head and started petting it. Catch. Smack. Flip-flop. Clatter-clatter. Satoko? It was so sudden for a moment, I didn't know what had happened. The back of my hand was stinging. I went to pet her head and she hit my hand? What's wrong, Satoko? Satoko was scratching at her head as though a pimple or something had appeared on it and become itchy. It was so sudden and so unprovoked, I didn't understand what happened. What's wrong, Satoko? At some point, her body had been covered in a thin layer of sweat and her breathing had turned ragged. When I pet her head, did she not like it? Was that what it meant? Did you dislike being petted? Once again, slowly, I held out the palm of my hand and brought it close to Satoko's head. Does she not? She doesn't like head pats anymore. The instant the palm of my hand touched her head, there was a shock like static electricity and Satoko began to howl. Ah! What? Thud slam. She grabbed my arm in both hands as if flinging off a snake, trying to cling to her, as if trying to throw away something dirty. She threw it violently. It happened too suddenly for me to react. I hit the desk behind me and both it and I fell to the floor. The classroom fell deathly silent. As Satoko bellowed, it sounded like she was in the throes of death, and she unsteadily backed away. And now she's crying. Then she threw up the food she'd just eaten. She vomited it all back up, splish splat. The sound of Satoko's vomit hitting the floor rang through the classroom. Are you okay, Satoko? You seem sick. She's stuck. I reached out a hand and she swatted away with all her might. With such extreme strength, I fell onto the floor again. She put both hands on her head as though protecting it, groaned some more, and took a few steps back. And then she began swinging both hands around. I can't tell if she's being defensive, back to some weird tricks, like when she was previously lying, because usually they start using that information right away, or if she's having like a complete mental breakdown and just swinging her fists at random. Students in nearby seats were forced to evacuate. She grabbed anything in reach, bento boxes, chairs, threw them, tossed them, flung them about. Stop it, Satoko! What's wrong, Satoko? She screamed at it as if Mion's words caused her physical pain. No one spoke a word to her. All the students were withdrawing behind us, leaving Satoko alone in the corner of the classroom. Around her there were desks and chairs all over the floor. Bento lay scattered. It was terrible. All I could hear was Satoko's ragged breaths and the voices of cicadas. I'm sorry. The strings of tension loosened around Satoko. And maybe she suddenly grew scared of her own actions because she started trembling and gave a word of apology. But nobody knew who that apology was directed towards. So for now, I decided to answer her as everyone's representative. No, it's fine. Are you alright? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. Our words didn't match each other at all. Satoko hugged her shoulders and back she went. Bang. She ran to the locker with the cleaning supplies in it. Even that made her give a little yelp. The impact caused the bucket atop the locker to fall, making a loud sound that scared Satoko most of all. She almost jumped out of her skin, grabbing a bunch of the curtain in her hands. Nobody spoke to her. They could only look, not even remembering to blink. I'm sorry. Sorry, it wasn't me. Satoko, what on earth? I stood up and took a step away from everyone, approaching Satoko. What happened? I said, I don't know. You're wrong. Please forgive me. Calm down, Satoko. Do you know who I am? Oh, I hate this. I don't even know what she's doing here. Every time I took a step forward, she grabbed the curtains more tightly and cried out, Satoko, it's me. It's Keiichi. Do you recognize me? I'm not gonna hurt you. No. Alright, calm down. It's alright. I'm your friend. Help me. I don't want to be scared. It feels so bad. I don't. Suddenly my shoulders were grabbed and I was dragged backwards. It was Reina. Sorry, Keiichi-kun. You get a little further back. After pulling me back, she went towards Satoko in my place. Okay, Satoko, there's nothing to be scared of. Please don't worry. Oh, no more of that. Help me. Nini, help me. Well, as she grabbed the curtains, she kept calling for Nini. She continued to wail about being forgiven for something and to be saved from something. What's this? Mion gnashed her teeth and groaned. There were tears falling from her firmly closed eyes. What's this? Didn't this come to an end yesterday? Weren't we supposed to go back to our old lives? Mion? Mion? Crash. There was a crazy sound. Reina took the cleaning supply locker and kicked it to the ground. Everyone stood surprised at her unexpected brutality. After that, Reina embraced the bawling Satoko from behind and started crying with her. Stifled. Reina, what's wrong? Sorry, can't you quiet for a moment? What's it now? What happened? What did Satoko say? What'd you hear? Shut the hell up! I told you to shut your mouth, asshole! That was verbatim. I didn't add anything to that. Reina's raw, hostile emotion hit me like a brick. It was no more than a momentary howl of emotion for Reina, but it was more than that for me. She showed me what was behind all that emotion, what was in her heart. Okay, back to no more, Wawa. Forgive us, we couldn't do anything for you, forgive us. And she's still crying. She's still crying. Oh, this time, she's not crying over you, she's crying over Satoshi. Sorry, I'm sorry, Nini. Sorry. Forgive us for being unable to do anything. Reina's words made me feel as though the blood vessels in the back of my head were suddenly all turning to ash. My vision grew distant, blurred with gray, and the world lost its color. I thought we could save Satoko. And though I knew it'd be the sooner the better, I thought there was no time limit for doing that. I never even dreamed we could be too late. I'd been making a huge mistake. I thought Satoko could be hurt, but never that she'd break. It was such a huge mistake. People, they can break. Thinking they won't is absurd. We needed to save Satoko. We needed to save her before she broke. That fatal lapse in awareness brought this on. Whose fault was it? That went without saying. Mine, no, ours. We took on the duty of saving Satoko, but we were negligent to the point of laziness. In that sense, this was the inevitable. Wasn't this literally like one day? This happened in one day. This happened in one day, my dude. Even if this didn't happen today and it happened tomorrow or the day after or next week, we'd have just sat around doing nothing until that day. This was the obvious result. I slumped down to my knees just as Mion and Rika had done. And I too closed my eyes tight and couldn't stop myself from sobbing. What's all the noise about? Wait, what happened? The teacher came and her face screwed up at the terrible spectacle before her. The instant she realized the teacher was here, Satoko went through another complete change. She wiped her face with the curtains like nothing happened, smiled. Ocha-san? What's going around here? Oh, I just got to squabble with Reina, that's all. We went a little crazy over our lunches, right? Right? Reina didn't nod in reply, but since Satoko wished it, she nodded without strength. The rest of the class couldn't keep up with her extreme changes. We all just stared in a daze. It was just a little horseplay. I scared everyone out of their wits. Satoko would probably sweep the whole thing under the rug. And for what? Her heart's torn to pieces, so what else? You wanted Nini to help, didn't you? But unfortunately for you, Satoshi doesn't ever intend on coming back. It's never that easy. He won't just conveniently show up and save you. But you don't have to wait for him anymore. You can cry, beg for help, and run away. Ah! Please, can't do anything, Mion suddenly said. She spoke then, those few words that tormented me countless times. They were a spell, and when I heard them, my whole body regained its calm. My emotions slipped away like they'd never been there, like a wave departing. And the world's color flipped inside out. My field of view expanded. My head grew cold as I felt like my mind's volume had grown even wider than the classroom we were in. At that time, my soul was doubtlessly no longer in this small, petty vessel in my head, but floating in the air a bit above it. It was a mysterious feeling of release. I broke free of the cramped confines of my skull and stretched out my roots in all directions as far as I wanted to. This is where we realized he's having his own mental breakdown. It was a strange feeling, one I'd never felt before. An odd sense of exhilaration, my sharpened senses, caused me to transcend. He's having an out-of-body experience at his own failure. My mind was sharper than a knife's edge, and I immediately decided spending the time to let myself be crushed with grief would be an absolute waste. I erased all the garbage information from my brain. I expelled pointless emotions presenting obstacles to action. Mion. You can curse it all you want. Curse our powerlessness as much as you want. If I could have taken back what happened by crying about it, I've cried all day. Fact was, this is how things turned out. I couldn't take back what had happened. The top priority then would be to prevent the situation from worsening further and sever the chains of misfortune. Until today, I've been looking at things narrow-mindedly. So narrow-mindedly I could scarcely believe it. To save Satoko, the only thing to do was to save Satoko. That's the only thing I thought about. I didn't allow myself to realize the most basic, direct, and certain way of removing the source of her unhappiness. Oh, I actually realized it yesterday. As for the means, I relied on some stupid curse from some dumb deity. I never considered carrying the task out myself. I'd obliterate Satoko's uncle. There were plenty of ways to do it. This was a task that held infinite methods. Ironically, the method of saving Satoko required mostly money. But the method of killing the man pretty much took no money at all. I could kill him with the least amount of investment. The least amount of money suited him. It was only the weight of his life. I kept eliminating needless, worthless information in my head, replenishing it with only the knowledge I'd need to achieve my goal. Alright. I used every cell in my brain to think about how I'd kill him. The way I killed him didn't matter. I'd allow any method from whatever time, whatever country, as long as it ended in a quick and certain death. Alright, well, getting a gun's gonna be hard. You're in Japan, so that one's not super easy. You're also a minor and your parents don't have a gun, so that's doubly hard, I guess. I guess you're gonna go with, like, knife or poison. Poison's gonna be tough to guarantee. You also don't have any information about the house, and he rarely leaves it. You'll have a hard time casing the place properly. Or even finding where you don't even know what room he's in, if he's sleeping. If I were to have an additional condition, it'd be not to get caught. Removing him is an act designed to return to the peaceful times we had with Satoko. If I was arrested in exchange for the removal, we might as well have killed each other. With only him gone, we'd go back to our normal lives. This was my supreme objective. My ultimate goal. Kill him, definitely. But definitely don't leave evidence either. Two alternatives at odds with one another. The condition of not leaving a trace back to me automatically narrowed the number of murder methods. Yeah, it's gonna make it really hard, my dude. No witnesses, an absolute must. Fortunately, given the right time, there would be no one around. I mentally reconstructed the land around Satoko's house. The number of pedestrians different at different times. He's never been to the region. The movement, the algorithm of the neighbors. Dude, you've literally been here once. You can't mind castle or fuck it an answer to this that quickly. But okay, would I lure him out or charge at him? I think you're just stuck in La La Land. What would my weapon be? When and where do I carry this out? It needs to be somewhere I couldn't leave a trace. When? As soon as possible for Soka's safety, without wasting a millisecond. How haphazard is this plan gonna go? This is completely absurd. When I thought about it that way, it struck me how easy the act of killing was. Really. If I could leave evidence, if I was just gonna kill him, anyone could turn into a murderer. But our reason prevented that. It told us doing so would get us arrested for sure. In the end, being arrested by the police was the final thing preventing people from committing homicide. And it not really being worth it most of the time. Absurd. You went all the way out into the very middle of the ocean. You wouldn't leave any trace at all. Anyone would drop those they hated into the depths if they knew that. It was too easy. Too simple to remove him. I could leave class now, grab a baseball bat in the schoolyard, go to his house and attack him. And if you were successful and didn't lose in it, if you got initiative and managed to hit him on the head a few times, yeah, you could probably do okay. He's 14, right? Estimated time would be 25 minutes. If I wanted us to kill each other, it wouldn't even be minutes. I could do it in 1,500 seconds. I knew just how much his continued existence depended on me. Yeah, you have a lot of confidence if you think you can actually kill this guy like that. He is like mid-30s, right? You're like a below average physical strength 14-year-old. I knew just how much his continued existence depended on me. He was nothing. I could expel him from this world in just 1,500 seconds after making up my mind. From when I decided what to do, he only had 1,500 seconds. Actually, if I ran at full speed, it would go down. You got confidence, I guess. But he's alive. He's part of the world this very moment, having torn Satoko's body and mind to shreds. Why? Because I let him live. I was permitting him to live, and so he was alive. If I rescinded that permission, he'd be evacuating this mortal coil in 1,500 seconds. You think I'd let you live to breathe 1,500 more seconds of air? I'm taking that permission back right here, right now. You better thank me for letting you live until today. But I actually need more than 1,500 seconds. I'm not gonna end you. Getting back our old lives is far more important. It's only you I'll be cleanly cutting out of this world. They won't find a culprit. I'll forget that I dirtied my hands on the likes of you as naturally as I brush my teeth before bed. To do that, I'll make a special exception for you and give you more than 1,500 seconds. I'll give you a special mission to live until I construct the perfect plan for your murder. Wait, Keiichi. You can't let that time go to waste. I know. I'll kill him quickly. I'll remove him with certainty. I won't even waste much time to perfect that plan. Think back. Tomorrow is Tatarigoroshi. Last year, her aunt died. Her head was busted open by some deviant and her brains splattered everywhere. That's it. He's someone who deserves to be given death on the night of Tatarigoroshi. Hey, Yashiro-sama, you call yourself a guardian, but you didn't do shit to protect Satoko. I added that. Cursing Satoko's family for the damn stuff is your own business. But now you've made Satoko unhappy when she didn't have anything to do with it. Do you know that? I mean, Mion had a lot to do with the damn stuff. I, Keiichi Maibara, hereby denounce you, guardian deity of Hinamizawa, as a failure. We don't need you. Go back to the deepest, darkest part of your shrine this year. This guy needs to make up his mind about whether or not he believes in Oyashiro. Besides, if you just cursed and killed both her aunt and uncle last year, none of this would have happened. The curse this year, it's not on you. I'll be the one deciding. It won't be the three families controlling the deaths behind the scenes. No. Not some vague people I can't tell if they're buffoons or not. This time, I'll be the one to deliver judgment. Don't get in my way. Just watch. Stay quiet and watch. I'll obliterate him. I'll wipe him off the face of the earth. I'll stomp out his very existence. Go away. Disappear and die. I'll tear your heart apart like you did to Satoko. I'll have your blood as payment. Alright. Let's see if he can follow through with this. Keiichi, are you alright? Reina, Mia, and Rika were looking at me. Did I fall into the floor? You surprised us. You suddenly fell down. You having a nightmare? You were moaning. Shut it. Quit squeaking at me like that. My friends gave a start and backed away. What? Ren and the others, they exchanged glances, unsure of what to say, and stood confused for a few moments. Was that your voice, Keiichi-kun? Of course it was. Reina gulped firmly and opened her mouth. For a second, Keiichi, your eyes were really scary. My eyes? Probably a trick of the light. Don't waste my time. I'm not mistaken. I've never seen those eyes before. What were those guys talking about? They'd all been so scared of me lately. You are Keiichi Maibara-kun, right? What was Reina saying? Who else do I look like except Keiichi? The look I gave her seemed to speak quite eloquently to those irritated thoughts. She understood and quickly apologized. Sorry. Don't worry about it. Is this going to be a scene change or the chapter end? Oh, it actually is the chapter end. That was a short chapter. That feels really short. I can't... Is that really like the 2 chapters? That seemed really short. Alright. Huh. June 18th, 1983. Abuse issues regarding Satoko. Urgent. We have proposed Satoko be taken into immediate custody based on the items below. Family situation. Life with adoptive father who recently returned to Hinamizawa has already turned disastrous. She's currently subject to unendurable physical and mental abuse from the father. Child Consultation Center response. An officer was dispatched yesterday on the 17th from the Prefecture Welfare Office because of the 77 case. Changed to continued coaching and cautionary action. Unfortunately, the office head does not properly understand the situation. Status of concerned child. Child already appears to be suffering from an outbreak of something close to neurosis or manic depression. If her unstable pubescent mind is negatively stimulated by stress, it will put her development of a healthy body and mind at risk. This cannot be allowed to continue from a humane standpoint. Allegations made to family court. We propose, based on the above items, she should be taken into protective custody. Secured temporarily under emergency allegations to the family court under Article 28. We request emergency coordination between related agencies. Okay. Children with Special Needs General D23 number 44. Something 1970. This is her name, Satoko Hojo, right? Satoko Hojo, single digit years old. Residence, 3 numbers, Hinamizawa, Shishibon. Consultation circumstances. Telephone SOS from child of child abuse. Abuse situation, claims physical abuse by adoptive father. Family structure, X marks abusers. Adoptive father, real mother, older brother, child in question, Adoptive father and real mother entered family registry in 19-something or other, probably the early 80s, I think? Early 80s, late 70s. Child is daughter of the mother's previous husband. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of the child's telephone consultation, they called the child's school, asked of her situation. On that day, the officer on duty visited the child's house and conducted an interview. Adoptive father sincerely listened to instruction and agreed to take child-raising workshops in the city from now on. This is a very different response. On both of them, they visited. On the first one, they're like, man, it's messed up, but based on the 77 incident, we can't do anything. And in this one, they're like, and on this one, they're like, no, the adoptive father seems really recipient to our suggestions and concerns. They agreed to take child-raising workshops in the city from now on. As part of suggested coaching, the center will continue to observe. Other notes. As a result of numerous counseling sessions at the city's education center regarding the child, we learned there's a high possibility the cause of their excessive distrust towards her adoptive father was a lack of communication. Abuse, she claimed, hadn't taken place. She made a false report to distance herself from her adoptive father. Below is a note written in pencil by the person on duty at the time. The problem appeared to be more with the daughter. Chief Investigator F of the city's Education Consultation Office said most of her stories were likely fabrications. They decided to shift the focus of their coaching to the child. Be cautious not to take everything they say as truth. Now, while we didn't learn too much from those, the fact that there was like a significant contrast between how the two documents were written and how they were worded makes those two documents interesting. While we didn't learn anything, it kind of expanded on what we already knew, which we got from the previous chapters, but hey, I don't mind. That's what a lot of the tips are. So these ones seem like they were worth it to read, if for nothing else than to like read the contrasting tones of the two documents. Yeah, that was probably worth it. Alright, let's save. And for consistency's sake, wow, we're already at chapter 8. This feels like it's going to be a short one. This might be even shorter than the, this feels like it's going by way too quickly, but still good. Either way, I'm afraid this is all we're getting for Higurashi tonight.